Blade of the 47 Ronin is a grand fantasy set in an alternate version of reality. A world where swords and magic meet modern-day weaponry and fight for the fate of the world. It's got samurai, witches, and a lot of cool swordplay. Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review new movies and television shows and try to release a new review every day from Monday to Friday. Today I'm talking about Blade of the 47 Ronin. It's directed by Ronin and written by Amy Garcia, AJ Mendez, and John Swetnam. It stars Anna Akana, Teresa Ting, and Mike Moe. It's best described as a fantasy action movie. It feels like the movie is 75% action and 25% story. We follow a cast of eclectic characters as they travel the city looking for answers. In each location, we get a little bit of lore, a bit of the story, and a few minutes of fights involving swords and hand-to-hand combat. Rinse and repeat for an hour and 45 minutes. The plot is very simple, but the film makes it seem convoluted and nuanced by holding on to its mystery. It gives you the information in tiny little drips and often offers half-truths or omits critical context. Yuri, an evil witch, has returned and seeks to destroy the remaining samurai in the modern world. He starts by hunting down what he believes to be the last descendant of the 47 Ronin. He kills the man, but soon learns that another descendant exists. Luna is a former criminal whose father was just murdered. She arrives in Budapest to receive her inheritance, but finds herself caught up in a war between the samurai and the evil witch Yuri. Can she fulfill an ancient prophecy to unite the Tengu Blade and defeat Yuri? It's a basic hero's journey that involves a protagonist discovering their inner power and taking on the big bad guy to complete an ancient prophecy. The story works well as a vehicle for action, but it's not treading any new ground. It's also not connected to the first 47 Ronin in any way aside from a name drop here and there. It takes place 300 years later, and they reference the other movie a grand total of 3 times. It works well as a standalone film. It jokes around a lot, doesn't take itself too seriously, and does a great job of building out the personalities of its characters. For example, I loved how they introduced Luna. In her first scene, we learn that she's got quick hands, she's kind of funny, and she really hates bullies. The best part is that it all happens in a 2-minute scene, and it's all show, no tell. It does this for all of its characters, and it's refreshing to see. I laughed hard at all the different times Ryo managed to find food in the middle of a scene and start stuffing his face. He's always hungry. The movie has a few solid jokes throughout, and Luna gets to deliver quite a few of them. Her timing is great. Aside from the few witty lines though, the movie's dialogue is rather clunky and overbearing. It uses the words samurai, ninja, and magic way too often, and sounds way too much like a fantasy opera. The action was a mixed bag, but I think it has a lot more positives than negatives. The choreography and the sword fighting were well done, and I enjoyed watching them. We get almost non-stop action throughout the entire film, and they're constantly adding new elements into the mix that look so cool. Like when Lord Nico finally pulls out his pistol and starts dual-wielding on the train, I was so pumped. Or when Ryo got his rematch against Sun. The problem comes in with the special effects they added in after the fact. The fake blood and the beheadings. It looks so unrealistic that the first few times I saw it on screen, it almost took me out of the film completely. With how many fights are in this film, you start to wonder why they didn't just cut some of them out and spend the money on better special effects. The movie was a little long, and the money would have been better spent making the blood look real rather than on fight number 47. The soundtrack was mostly made up of hip-hop and dance music, and it's catchy and fun to listen to. However, it doesn't get used all that often. When characters are talking, there's generally silence behind them. During fights, the sound of swords, clanging, and people dying are usually too loud to hear the music. So the only time music makes an impact is during scene changes or over montages. The acting in this film is a little wishy-washy. At times the cast is overacting, and at others they seem a bit stilted, but I'm not sure it's the actor's fault. The dialogue and writing are pretty campy, so it wouldn't surprise me if they were looking for some kind of soap opera style acting. Despite that, the 2 leads, Teresa Ting and Mike Moe, end up putting on great performances. Together, their chemistry carries scenes, and alone they both create unique and interesting moments. Mike Moe as Ryo is goofy and fun, but incredibly serious when he meets with Lord Shinshiro. He's got a pretty wide range of emotions and decent comedic timing. Teresa Ting as Onami starts off as the stick-in-the-mud teacher's pet, but quickly opens up. We see that she's a bit of a history buff with a lot of confidence, and Ting portrays that confidence being shaken up quite well. When things go wrong, we see her shell crack and fall away. She does a great job of the emotions. I love action films, especially when they focus on action. That's what Blade of the 47 Ronin does, and that's why I love it. The story might not be that interesting, and it might be a little long and repetitive, but it has all the heart of a hero's journey, and it ends with a bang. Samurai fighting witches with guns and swords? What's not to enjoy? 6 out of 10.